We are getting ready to start, so I would like to please ask our media person to please get us some space in the front. Nous allons commencer la session dans les minutes à venir. Donc, je voudrais respectueusement prier nos personnalités des médias de pouvoir nous faire un peu d'espace devant. S'il vous plaît. So as we are waiting for a few more First Ladies to join us, please let me set the background of this event. This is the high-level side events organized by the African First Ladies Peace Mission, co-hosted by Nigerian government in collaboration with the United Nations Fund for Population, on the sideline of the 17th session of the United General Assembly. As we know, girls and women are affected and disproportionately affected by gender-based violence, conflicts, and emergency situations. They lack access to basic services. They also lack access to reproductive health. Despite these challenges that we all know, women continue to play a key role as peacemakers, as peace builders. Malgré les défis essentiels que rencontrent les jeunes filles et les femmes en situation humanitaire et de crise, elles continuent et demeurent les acteurs clés de la médiation et des processus de paix. Pendant que nous commençons tout doucement l'ouverture officielle de cet événement, je voudrais une fois encore, en respectant le temps de nos distingués officiels, prier les personnels des médias de nous laisser un tout petit peu de place. Yes, yes, yes. All right. She wanted to start right now. She wanted to start right now. Okay, okay.
S'il vous plaît, nous avons insisté à ce que les gens qui ne sont pas en train de travailler de prendre place et les personnels des médias de dégager le passage. Tout à l'heure, on va commencer le programme.
That's okay, you can, yeah, that's okay, that's okay. Son Excellence, Madame Angeline Ndayishimiye, Première Dame de la République du Burundi et vice-présidente de la mission de paix des Premières Dames d'Afrique. Son Excellence, Madame Dominique Ouattara, Première Dame de la République de Côte d'Ivoire. Son Excellence, Madame Denise Nyakero Tshisekedi, Première Dame de la République démocratique du Congo. Excellences, VIPs et personnalités, bienvenue. Welcome to this high-level side events organized by the African First Lady Mission, Peace Mission, co-hosted by Nigerian government in collaboration with UNFPA in the sideline of the 17th session of the UNGA. As I was mentioning previously, girls and women are unfortunately disproportionately affected when it comes to crisis, when it comes to conflicts, but they do play a key role as peacemaker and peace builder.
Excellence Première Dame, distingués invités, nous disons bienvenue à cet événement de haut niveau, à marche de la 77e session des Nations Unies, Assemblée générale des Nations Unies. Je le disais tout à l'heure, dans le monde entier, les jeunes filles et les femmes sont affectées disproportionnellement par des conflits qui sont dans le monde entier.
So without any further ado, I would like to introduce for her welcoming remark, An Excellency. She is the First Lady of the Republic of Burundi, and she's also the Vice President of the African First Lady Peace Mission. Merci de l'applaudir et de l'accueillir.
Merci.
Vos Excellences, Première Dame d'Afrique, Votre Excellence, Madame Bineta Diop, envoyée spéciale de l'Union africaine pour les femmes, la paix et sécurité, Dr Nathalie Kanam, secrétaire exécutif du Fonds des Nations Unies pour la population, FUNUAP, Excellence Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, ancienne présidente de la République du Libéria, Excellences les ministres, Excellences membres du corps diplomatique et consulaire, distingués invités, Mesdames, Messieurs, tout protocole observé. Je voudrais avant tout remercier Dieu Tout-Puissant. Je voudrais avant tout remercier notre Dieu Tout-Puissant pour nous avoir protégés pendant nos déplacements et notre séjour à New York. Au nom de son Excellence, Madame Aïcha Buhari, présidente de la MIPREDA, qui a eu un empêchement de dernière minute pour participer physiquement, et à mon propre en tant que vice-présidente, permettez-moi de vous adresser nos sincères remerciements pour avoir répondu présent à notre invitation pour cet événement. Soyez les bienvenus à cette session de haut niveau qui tient en marche de la 70e session de l'Assemblée générale des Nations Unies sous thème « Le rôle des femmes et des filles dans la promotion de la paix et de la sécurité. Promouvoir une culture de paix dans les contextes fragiles. » Excellences, Mesdames, Messieurs, en ce jour, nous voudrions d'abord commencer par célébrer le pas franchi dans la construction du bâtiment du siège de la MIPREDA pour un montant d'environ 13 806 000 $ américains. C'est un succès très louable que la mission est fière de partager avec vous. Nous en profitons pour remercier tous ceux qui ont contribué dans la réalisation de ce grand projet. Parallèlement, nous sommes fiers de nous annoncer que depuis février 2021, lors de la redynamisation de notre organisation, de grands progrès continuent d'être réalisés alors que nous forgeons des partenariats avec l'Union africaine, la Banque africaine de développement, le FINUAP et bien d'autres. Il est important de nous rappeler que les résolutions sur le rôle de la femme et de la jeune fille dans le processus de consolidation et de maintien de paix adopté dans différentes assemblées des Nations Unies n'ont resté que sur papier. C'est pour cette raison que la MIPREDA a décidé de travailler en étroite collaboration avec les principales parties prenantes pour s'assurer que du suivi de la mise en œuvre de ces résolutions, pour s'assurer que les femmes et les filles jouent pleinement leur rôle dans le maintien et la consolidation de la paix dans le monde. La mise en œuvre de ces résolutions leur permet également de jouir d'une autonomisation socio-économique et de bénéficier des services et besoins fondamentaux comme l'accès à l'éducation, à la santé, la nutrition, etc. Excellences, Mesdames, Messieurs, au nom de son Excellence, Madame Aïcha Bourari, présidente de la MIPREDA, et à mon nom propre, je voudrais vous inviter à suivre attentivement toutes les présentations, à interagir pendant les échanges et vous souhaiter de fructueuses délibérations pour enfin aboutir à une déclaration finale qui sera concrète, réalisable et bénéfique pour les jeunes filles et femmes africaines. Je vous remercie.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency. Merci beaucoup. Thank you so much, Your Excellency, the Vice President of MIPREDA. Could we briefly go through the message of the Vice President of MIPREDA? She begins thanking everyone for the participation to this high-level meeting, and she invites everyone to follow the deliberations of the session. And she goes again telling everyone, that MIPREDA is very proud of their advancements in the, first of all, completing the construction of the headquarters of MIPREDA that took around $13,806,000, and thanking everyone for who has contributed to this construction, and also he thanked everyone who has contributed. Secondly, Her Excellency, President of MIPREDA, is also thanking the and all stakeholders who are supporting to speak for the disadvantaged women and girls. Excellency also continue to support the different resolutions of and Vice President of MIPREDA has spoken in the name of the President of MIPREDA, Her Excellency, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, was not able to attend start the session and wants everyone to participate. And as we look forward to coming to conclusions for this session. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, observed, would like to announce you that after the speech, the First Lady of Burundi and the Vice President of MIPREDA is held for another meeting. We'll be back soon. So could we, Son Excellence, Première Dame, distingués invités, nous voulons annoncer que Son Excellence la Première Dame du Burundi et Vice-Président de la MIPREDA est prise pour notre programme. Elle va bientôt revenir. Son Excellence, merci.
Nous remercions une fois encore son Excellence pour son leadership et sa participation et son engagement pour les femmes et les questions de paix et sécurité. Nous vous remercions. So as you know, the Youth, Peace and Security Agenda set forth in Resolution 2250, adopted by the Security Council, has highlighted the names, the aspirations, and the experiences of young women, as well as the unique abilities as peacemakers and peace builders. Today, I have the pleasure to invite another champion for peacemaking and security, Mrs. Nadege Afutu, a young, passionate, and vibrant leader, for her remark. You have the floor. Please welcome her.
Excellences, Mesdames les Premières Dames, distingués invités, bonjour. Je suis francophone à l'origine, mais j'ai préparé mon speech en anglais. Donc, vous allez me permettre d'y aller en anglais, s'il vous plaît. Poverty is female. Excellencies, heads of agencies, honorable guests, ladies and gentlemen, it's an honor for me to highlight our women-centered work to promote peace and security in fragile settings. More than 47 million women live in the Sahel region. UN studies predict an increase of 9.1% in poverty rate for women since 2020. During the COVID-19 pandemic, the closing of markets and borders and restrictions on movement added to difficult weather conditions and challenges posed by expanding violent extremist groups in the Sahel region. This resulted in the exacerbation of economic inequalities as well as sexual and gender-based violence. We need to take action now. Girls and young women in the Sahel and coastal conflict-torn countries face many issues. They grow up as internally displaced persons and refugees. Their school education is either halted or they do not have access to school education and vocational training at all. They are exposed to difficult weather conditions, food insecurity, early and forced marriage, mutilation, rape, and other forms of sexual and gender-based violence. They are denied of inheritance rights and land ownership. They face different forms of economic violence. While multilateral and national efforts to protect women allowed over these recent decades, many rural young women do not know about mechanisms in place to protect them. And this is where civil society comes into play. As community-based organization, United Network of Young Peace Builders rely on the 4 pillars of UN Security Resolution 1325 on women, peace and security, as well as Resolution 2250 on youth peace and security to build sustainable peace. We think women and youth issues are interwoven. Therefore, we design programs that connect the two agendas for concrete results at the grassroots level. We prioritize 3 axes to protect girls and young women from freedom of want and freedom of fear. Our theory of change is that educated girls, trained and financially independent women have information and power. This power will reduce structural and personal vulnerabilities while increasing their resilience. The first axe we work on is capacity building programs to create pathways to economic empowerment. We develop literacy and arithmetic curricula, vocational training, and adaptation and climate resilient programs with the goal to make our targets competitive, help them find decent work or self-employed. We apply transformative integrated environmental management and aquaculture innovations, resilient rural practices, rural water supply systems, gender in relation to climate change and the rural practices to reduce vulnerabilities and the impact of climate change on local communities. This approach offers practical and effective combination of community-based adaptation and ecosystem-based adaptation techniques to support transformation of livelihood system, combat poverty, enhance greater climate resilience of rural communities and gender equality. We support young women in forming cooperatives and we hand them Starters Toolkit. The second axe is female leadership programs and boot camps to strengthen young women's self-confidence, develop public speaking skills and civic leadership, promote women's rights, maternal and reproductive health awareness. We put an emphasis on birth control as an important step to break the poverty chain. We train women trainers who replicate Taekwondo self-defense techniques in their communities. Self-defense is an important prevention tool because it serves as deterrence force for potential violence perpetrators. It frees young women from fear when they walk alone and when they face sexist adversity. It reinforces their self-esteem and self-reliance. Mentorship programs allow young women to look up to role models, to stand up for their rights, set life and career goals, and strive to achieve their full potential. The third X is focused on women's local political participation. Women are encouraged to form groups for mutual support and help desk, paralegal and medical assistance, as well as lobby groups to influence local politics. They also become agents of transformation as they promote a culture of ethnic, religious, and political tolerance, dialogue, and peaceful conflict resolution tools to foster social cohesion. As educators of children, as wives and mothers or mothers-to-be, women are powerful agents of change who can deter youth from joining violent extremist groups, advocate for policies to secure economic opportunities for women and the youth, protect and relieve victims of human rights abuse, work relentlessly for social justice and gender equity. As a female young peace builder, I believe that there is an urgent need to reform the state-centric approach in the top-down approach. Many Sahel countries adopted this approach in the last decade, and some coastal countries are doing the same without expected results. Grassroots community-based and community-owned approach will yield tangible results. Let us allocate more resources to local women groups. Let them address their issues directly. Let them lead. Thank you.
Excellent. Let them lead, let women be the key actor of peacemaking and peace building. Merci pour votre intervention, Madame Afoutou. Vous avez mis l'accent sur les différentes interventions que vous menez dans votre communauté en tant que peacemaker, peace builder. Vous avez mis l'accent sur l'importance de prioriser le leadership et la participation des jeunes et des femmes en matière de mission de paix et de sécurité. Mais vous avez aussi finalement conclu en disant « Let them lead ». Laissons les femmes, les filles diriger. So it is now my pleasure to invite our next speaker who will join us virtually. I do have the pleasure, while the technical team is helping and getting us ready, I have the pleasure of introducing Her Excellency, Dr. Aisha Buhari, First Lady of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and President of the African First Lady Peace Mission. She's a leader and a role model who tirelessly worked to advance women's empowerment, but also to prevent and mitigate violent conflicts, as well as their negative impacts on women and children. Pendant que la technologie et l'équipe de technologie est en train de nous connecter, j'ai eu le plaisir, je continue donc d'introduire et de souhaiter la bienvenue à son Excellence Dr. Aisha Buhari, première dame de la République fédérale du Nigeria et présidente de MIPREDA. Est-ce que son Excellence, Madame la Première Dame est connectée? Équipe technique?
Yeah.
Please give me a green light when you have Her Excellency. Please help me welcome Her Excellency Dr. Aisha Buhari, First Lady of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and President of the African First Lady.
Hello, good afternoon or good morning, my dear sisters over there, Your Excellencies, the First Lady, the African First Ladies there, Your Excellency, the former President of Liberia, the UNFPA, the Honorable Ministers there, my family members that are there today, the Peace Mission Secretary, distinguished ladies and gentlemen.
Have a better view for Her Excellency. We appreciate your patience.
Let's start.
We cannot hear Her Excellency at the moment, but the technical team is working to have a better audio, Her Excellency. I think we all set now. Please, you have the floor, Her Excellency, Dr. Aisha Buhari.
Hello, can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, Her Excellency, we can hear you slightly, but the technical team is trying to fix us. Can you hear us, Excellency?
Yeah.
All right, we are trying to fix that. And this is what's happened with technology, and we need to actually adapt, we need to adjust, and we really appreciate the patience while the team is working. It seems like the sound better now, Excellency. Maybe try one more time.
Hello, can you hear me?
So let me see, does everyone has this audio set for the transition? And let's see if we're able
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, Excellency.
Okay. Yeah. Hello. Shall I start?
Dr. Bewa, may I kindly suggest that you put the microphone on the Zoom loudspeaker, because Her Excellency is loud and clear on Zoom. So my suggestion would be to put the microphone on one of the loudspeakers, and you'll be able to pick her sound into the hall.
Yeah.
Dr. Bewa, on the contrary, your sound is not coming through on Zoom.
All right. Technology team. Excellency, we really apologize for this technical issue. It seems
No
it is
problem.
to internet either.
No problem at all.
What I could suggest, if this is fine with protocol, and I would like to have a heads up from my team, wherever they are, we try one more time, and then we move to the video, and we try to bring back Her Excellency. Can I have a green light on that from my team on protocol?
Sure. Yes.
All right, perfect. So please let me have the next video on stage, and I will be introducing the video. Entre-temps, je voudrais pouvoir encore reconnaître la présence et la patience de notre excellente première dame, son Excellence, Madame Dominique Ouattara de la République de la Côte d'Ivoire. Merci d'être restée avec nous. Son Excellence, Madame Tshisekedi, première dame de la République démocratique du Congo. Merci d'être restée avec nous. Merci de m'accueillir. Please acknowledge your presence. I want to acknowledge all the dignitaries of the first row, the second row, and everyone in the room. Madame Madame Special Envoy, Women Security, Madame Binet and Joe, and I will come back and acknowledge everyone on this first row. Take on the last row. We want to appreciate your presence and your comments. Thank you. So if the video is ready, this is a significant video that shows the work that the African First Ladies Peace Mission is achieving. And without any further intro, let's get this video ready and let's start the video and then talk about what happened.
Get.
So the video shows the impact that the African First Ladies Mission is achieving in terms of the building and diversity. Cette vidéo met vraiment l'accent sur l'impact de la mission de Première Dame pour la paix, l'impact que cette organisation a en termes de société, en termes de la paix et de la paix. Donc aujourd'hui, les dieux de la technologie ne sont pas avec nous, mais nous allons y arriver avec eux.
The Africa First Ladies Peace Mission is a product of international engagement. The 4th UN Conference on Women in 1995, the AU Declaration of 1996, and the meeting of African First Ladies on the sideline of the African Union Summit in 1997. For 25 years, this institution has made its contribution to the development of women, especially in the area of peace building and conflict prevention. First, aligning into Agenda 2063 of the African Union, which is the continent's strategic framework for inclusive and sustainable development. At its 9th summit in 2021, the Africa First Ladies Peace Mission met in Abuja to elect a new president and chart a way forward. A series of events took place on that important day. An executive bureau meeting took place early in the day, which was chaired by the host, Dr. Mrs. Aisha Buhari, First Lady of Nigeria, where she was elected president, and an agenda was developed for the 9th summit. The 9th summit attracted dignitaries, including the President of Nigeria, and witnessed remarks by African First Ladies, as well as goodwill messages from regional bodies and development institutions.
The convening of the summit is timely and a testimony to leadership of the African First Ladies as worthy ambassadors of women and the African continent.
From east to west, north to south, our continent continues to experience violence with catastrophic effects, especially on women, children, and the very poor people in society.
Our job is to make sure we have stability. Our job is to make sure we have peace. And our job is to make sure we support our husband's agenda.
During the afternoon of the same event, members were taken to the construction site of the Secretariat of the Mission, where a foundation stone was laid for the erection of the building to commence. On the evening of the same, a fundraiser was convened to facilitate the speedy completion of the project. In an aftermath of the 9th summit, an executive secretary was appointed for the mission and a temporary secretariat established, awaiting the completion of the headquarters.
Thank you for honoring me with this opportunity to work with you, to work with your team, and to work with the African First Ladies Peace Mission.
The contractors, Messrs. AK & Co., have promised to deliver a completed state-of-the-art building by January 2023. Work continues round the clock to meet the deadline promised by the contractors.
We are on target, which is to deliver the project by end of January 2023.
The First Lady has come and seen the progress of work, and we are very, very happy of the progress so far done.
The mission had an opportunity to present its mandate in the presence of African head of states during the African Union Head of States Summit held in Malabo, Equatorial Guinea.
We at the African First Ladies Peace Mission are ready and determined to complement your efforts at advancing the cause of peace, harmony, and development among Africans, diverse people and communities, and across African states. Peace-building efforts deserve a holistic approach from all segments of the society.
It is anticipated that 25 years from its inception, this high-level side event on the margins of the 77th session of the UN General Assembly will provide a platform to share experiences and profile solutions that will lead to a unified call for action among members.
Indeed, this is a very impactful and concrete example of First Ladies leadership throughout the continent. I would like to acknowledge the president from the wife of the Vice President of Nigeria, who is online. One being the president of the Minister of Nigeria, and also acknowledging the presence of wife of governor and the wife of service chief in the room. So the UN Security Council recognizes the important role that women play in promoting peace, peacemaking, peace building, and security. One of the key players of this achievement, one of our challenges, will be on stage today to present the progress made so far. And one of them is Madame Ileta Diop. We usually call her Madame Diop because she's a role model, she's a mentor, she's a giant. But she's also the special voice of the African Union of Women, Peace and Security. She played a key role in achieving gender parity within the African Union Commission, and it's my pleasure to welcome and introduce my Excellency Madame Ileta Diop.
Thank you, my sister. Definitely my daughter will say that. Just say, Excellency Dr. Aisha Buhari, the First Lady of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, who is with us, even it is a bit far, but we are very happy that we are together. And Excellency, the First Ladies that are here present, let me recognize my sister, the First Lady, Madam Tshisekedi of DRC. I'm very glad to see you in New York after being with you in DRC with the great work you are doing. And also my great sister, the First Lady of Côte d'Ivoire, Madam Ouattara, for the work you are doing for the women of Côte d'Ivoire, and also the First Lady of Burundi, Madam Ndayishimiye, who just left. But just to recognize the work that all First Ladies are doing by taking care of our gender agenda, the women's empowerment next to our champion, our presidents on Africa. We recognize the work that you are doing and the impact that you are making in our communities. So we want to salute you. And this is an opportunity to thank also the executive director of UNFPA. And I see my sister here, the deputy who is here, Jenna. Thank you very much for sponsoring this event. And thank to Natalia Kanem and all the team. Representative of our member state that are present. I see ministers of all countries in Africa, but also the UN agencies, but also UNESCO, and also I think the young for me to be today delivering the keynote speech on women, peace, and security as the special envoy of the African Union Commission, and bring the greetings of Excellency Musa Faki Mohammed, who could not be with you, but just to say that we are with you in this moment where we are looking into how we are implementing WPS in our continent. Excellency Madam Buhari, my sister, thank you for spearheading the women agenda in Nigeria, in our continent, but also here in New York, where the global world is meeting. Thank you again, First Lady, for being great champions of women's empowerment. I think indeed prioritizing women and girls to advance peace and security in Africa, it is critical. The implementation of the WPS is imperative to achieve the development goal, but also the Agenda 2063, you know, the framework, the Africa, we, the people of Africa, we want to see happening. And the AU, the African Union, have developed its own agenda with African institutions, but also within the support of the UN system. So the AU, African Union, continued to support women and girls in the realization of their dreams and aspirations, particularly through its WPS agenda, a visionary framework which places women and girls at the core of our development agenda. 22 years now, we have adopted Resolution 1325. And I think Africa had challenges in attaining outcome consistent with the framers' intent of this landmark resolution. We have seen COVID-19, how it has impacted on the whole population, especially violence against women, not just in Africa, but everywhere, in the family, in the community. It has been there. We have seen the crisis right now on Ukraine that is also impacting on our population. So all this, and when we talk about the crisis, ongoing crisis, not just the pandemic, but we see the economic crisis, we have seen the oil crisis, all the crises that Africa is experiencing, not because of us, but because also the global world is shaking. So I think it's a time for us to look also on our gains, because I see the gains that we have made is now shrinking, and we need to see how do we scale it up? How do we make sure that we found solutions? And we have made some gain. We need to admit that. For example, in Africa, 30 member states have adopted national action plan. That's the reality. I'm very glad that those who are here have a national action plan that are part of your development agenda. That's reality. ECOWAS, SADC, the Great Lakes region, the ECAS have all regional action plan. So Africa is in advance in terms of, because maybe it's our stories, our history, that Liberia, Sierra Leone, and other places, the Great Lakes, Burundi, Rwanda, we have experienced war. But we are the one who have to bring also peace in our continent. And we are doing our utmost by putting action plan. Not only the 30 action plan, and we need more, but also we are putting accountability process. We have a framework with key indicators, and I'm happy that Nigeria is also implementing the WPS agenda, being one of the country that is supporting through ECOWAS the WPS agenda. So we are hopeful that the next report of Africa is the first continent that have reporting on WPS as a whole. and we need to continue the process and the system of accountability. We have set mechanism, for example, critical mass of women mediators. We have the mass which is called FemWise, a network that is ready to be deployed in peace mediation as well. We have also programs that support the role of young people for sustainable peace and security in Africa. I have seen many of the countries here present that are implementing the youth peace and security agenda as established by the African Union with the support of UNFPA and UN Women. I think throughout the world, there is a struggle to include women and girls in government-led and peace-related decision-making process. We need that. Women need to be at the core, at the center of the resolution of our conflict, but also in the post-conflict reconstruction. We need women leadership. It matters. We have seen that where women are leading, we have seen the transformation. We have seen the process of reconciliation. We have seen also the issue of justice being brought at the forefront. So having 50% of our population in the youth, which make us 80% of our population, our community, we need to bring them at the forefront. Let me just emphasize not just the leaders that are in this room, but somebody like Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. 1996, when I was in Liberia, and I saw that she wanted to reconstruct a country that was in ruin. And she made it. She made it thanks to the support of ECOWAS and other leaders of the continent, but she was able. And now she's leading the Africa Women Leaders Network, which was established in 2013. And now we have 30 chapters in Africa. And we wanted also to make sure that the First Lady are leading this process of empowering women's leaders, because we need women leaders, not just at the grassroots, it's important at community, but women leaders matter. And we need to make sure that they are at the center of our development and our economic recovery of our continent. So let me salute the initiative, your initiative, First Lady, to bring peace, because without peace, we will not reach development. To make sure that you are at the core, at the center, and this initiative is what we need to applaud and to support you. I can tell you my office at the African Union, which has been a permanent mechanism because it's need now. It makes sure that we are there and we support your work, but also we support of the women at the community level, at the grassroots level. So ladies and gentlemen, the First Ladies here present, we must continue to chart the course and stay committed to the WPS agenda, adopting a policy of containment before the escalation of violence. It's a proactive measure that women and girls can effectively execute through the help of technology, because women are everywhere, at the boardroom, household, social, political, economic, and environment. I continue to add my voice as the AU Special Envoy on Women, Peace, and Security, and I'm here to make sure that the women are part of the process, but also the young girls. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm wholeheartedly delighted that the Africa First Lady Mission and UNFPA have sponsored this timely event on WPS. I think this is why we are all around you, UNFPA, because you accompany us as well when it comes to bringing the community, but also bringing the men. You know, President Tshisekedi have launched what we call recently the positive masculinity. He's our champion, and we need to continue to bring men on board. Without them, I don't think that we will be able to be where we wanted to be. They are the one in position, they hold the power, and they have the everything that we need, resources. Positive masculinity is about the he for she. Positive masculinity is men making sure that they bring the young girls at school their education. The positive masculinity is about economic empowerment of the women. Positive masculinity is to say no to violence against women. Positive masculinity is to transform our society by putting women and the youth at the core of our economic recovery. So long-term peace and stability in Africa rests upon the shoulders of women and girls. And I, like you in this room, I'm committed to the presentation of the issue and to find pathway that embed the message of peace and that produce sustainable outcome, which is part of the work that I'm doing, especially in Voi, like you, my sister Jenna, one of the leaders of the UN. I will hear my sister Amina Mohammed as well. There are many women leaders in the system in AU, but in our government. We need to salute them. We need to show their face. They are there and they are making impact like our First Lady here present. Vous me permettrez dans ce dernier mot de dire que ce que j'ai vu par rapport aux buildings qui est en train d'être construit, c'est extraordinaire que les premières dames puissent mettre en place des institutions, de mettre en place aussi, de bâtir pour les femmes, parce que c'est ça la durabilité. C'est ça qui va nous permettre de continuer le travail que nous avons entamé. Merci, Dr. Bewa, une jeune qui est docteur et qui fait un travail excellent. Merci beaucoup. So thank you so much for inviting me. And I am here to listen and to take forward the conclusion that will come out of this meeting. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Excellency Madame Vinette Abion. She is a long-term advocate for women, gender equality on the continent, and she is never tired of pushing the line, and we do appreciate that. Une fois encore, merci à vous, Son Excellence, Madame Vinette Diop, pour votre leadership de très longue date. We are getting back to Her Excellency Dr. Aisha Mouari, and we pray to have the God of technology with us this time. Can we try one more time, Her Excellency? I see you are trying to speak, Her Excellency, but the technology still doesn't allow. Would you, let's check if Her Excellency microphone is on, and also let's check if her.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Exactly, so let's help Her Excellency by réactivant le son. Exactly. And let's try one more time.
Yeah, hello, can you hear me?
Can we hear it as well? All right, let's take you up to the top of the microphone now. So,
What for? No, the one with the other guy.
all right, Excellency, would you
Yeah,
mind,
what channel is that?
Can you hear me?
I think we can hear you, but
I should start?
that's perfect. Thank you, Excellency. You have the floor.
I should go on?
Yes, please, Excellency.
Okay. Yeah, a very good afternoon to all my sisters there. I couldn't make it to America for the ONGA this year. I console myself, but not being heard, people have not been hearing me since, so they had to put others to speak before me, which I've started thinking that no, I can't take that one. But thank you so much, Your Excellency, the First Lady of Côte d'Ivoire, Your Excellency, the First Lady of DRC, the representative of the UNFPA, the representative of UNESCO, Mrs. Binta Diop, the representative of other first ladies, the wives of the governors from Nigeria, our SDGs secretary in Nigeria, our DGs from Nigeria, our Minister of Women Affairs, the wife of the Nigerian permanent representative to United Nations, the First Lady of Burundi who has just left, the girl that delivered a beautiful speech, Dr. Hajosani, Nigeria Ambassador to UNESCO, and other distinguished ladies and gentlemen that are there. Let me not forget my son that is there with his wife, Musta and Mrs. Yusuf Buhari. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I am delighted to address this historic assembly of my fellow African sisters and first ladies from various countries of our continent. The annual platform of the United Nations General Assembly provides a regular opportunity not only for world leaders to engage at the highest level, but for important regional institutions such as ours to hold meaningful deliberations on its margins. The theme of this side event is the role of women and girls in advancing peace and security, promoting a culture of peace in fragile settings. Our keynote speaker, Mrs. Diop, has already done justice to the topic. She is a renowned Amazon in the peace and security sector. As the African Union's Special Envoy on Women, Peace and Security, we are excited at the prospect of working with Excellency Madame Diop and her good office to ensure that our interventions are aligned with those of the African Union. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, as of last month, there were 35 active conflicts in Africa. According to figures released by the international community of the Red Cross and the Red Crescent, the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees has already placed a number of internally displaced refugees, asylum seekers, and stateless persons at 30 million in Africa. Most countries with the lowest score on the Human Development Index and those under the category of least developed countries are largely states overwhelmed by conflicts or emerging out of violent conflicts. With women as the most affected by these conflicts, women leaders and organizations have to intensify their contributions to the cause of peace and insist that our precious voices are acknowledged and respected. This can only happen when decision makers agree to attach greater value to gender justices by ensuring that women's priorities become central to peace and security policies at all levels of decision making. I wish to extend a similar call to the United Nations Population Fund and United Nations Education, Scientific and Cultural Organizations, UNESCO, to, in consultation with other partners, consider the development of a universal curriculum for young girls on gender, peace, and security education for schools worldwide, especially in our continent, Africa. We plan to partner with various African universities and research institutions to promote the pursuit of peace and security studies in tertiary institutions of learning, as well as support the formation of peace clubs among the youth at primary, secondary, and tertiary levels. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I'm happy to report the great strides which the African First Ladies Peace Mission has registered since my election as the president. We are forging active membership with the African Union, ECOWAS, and several UN agencies, among which the UNFPA, our partner in this evening today, is playing a leading role. The political affairs, peace and security development of the African Union has committed to work with us vigorously to ensure our success all the way. The ECOWAS Commission has specifically committed to ensure that we achieve our goals and objectives. The African Development Bank has pledged solidarity with our organization to ensure that women and girls, especially in fragile states and states in transition, are supported in the field of education, health, and nutrition in order to live dignified lives. As seen from the video presentation, as seen on the video presentation earlier, rapid progress has been made towards the completion and delivery of a permanent and befitting secretariat for the African First Ladies Peace Mission in Abuja, Nigeria. The project's contractors are working 24/7 to meet up with the targeted date for its completion and delivery, which is January 2023. In conclusion, I would like to acknowledge and sincerely commend and appreciate my fellow sisters, the African First Ladies, the UNFPA, the UNESCO, the Nigerian Permanent Mission, the Nigeria Embassy, our beautiful team from African First Ladies Peace Mission. I would like to appreciate the presence of beautiful ladies that are there today to support peace building in Africa. Thank you very much, and God bless you all.
President of the Republic of
participation égale des femmes de tous âges à la consolidation de la paix et à la prise de décision à tous les niveaux. En Côte d'Ivoire, le gouvernement s'attelle à permettre à la femme d'acquérir plus de pouvoir de décision au sein de la société. La Constitution ivoirienne impose un quota minimum de 30% de femmes aux assemblées élues et d'innombrables actions sont menées pour encourager une meilleure participation de la femme à l'activité économique, sociale et politique du pays. Pour ma part, je suis aussi personnellement engagée dans la promotion des droits de la femme et pour son autonomisation depuis plusieurs années, car pour moi, permettre à la femme d'être financièrement autonome, c'est l'investir de rôle plus important dans la société. Ainsi, en 2012, j'ai créé avec l'aide de mon époux, le président Alassane Ouattara, le Fonds d'appui aux femmes de Côte d'Ivoire, FAFSI. Le FAFSI est un fonds de microcrédit à taux réduit qui permet de financer les activités génératrices de revenus des femmes. Il a déjà permis à 325 000 femmes ivoiriennes d'être financièrement autonomes, ce qui leur vaut le respect et la considération de leur entourage. En la matière, les témoignages que nous recevons de nos bénéficiaires sont éloquents. En effet, nos sœurs devenues financièrement autonomes nous racontent qu'elles sont aujourd'hui des personnages incontournables au sein de leur communauté et qu'elles sont consultées pendant les prises de décision. C'est ainsi que lors des crises post-électorales que notre pays a traversées, les femmes ont joué un rôle majeur dans le règlement des conflits. Elles ont été aussi celles à qui j'ai confié la mission de calmer les tensions et prôner l'union et le vivre ensemble dans les villes et villages en adressant des messages d'apaisement à leurs époux et à leurs fils. Mesdames les premières dames, distingués participants, notre continent recèle de femmes leaders disposant de capacités intellectuelles et de compétences solides pour occuper des postes de décision importants dans la société. Il nous revient de mettre tout en œuvre pour leur permettre d'exercer pleinement leur rôle dans la consolidation de la paix et dans la prise de décision à tous les niveaux. Enfin, je voudrais encourager nos jeunes filles à prendre la place qui est à la leur dans les instances de décision et à oser faire entendre leur voix. Excellente conférence à toutes et à tous. Je vous remercie.
Je vous remercie encore, Excellence, Madame la Première Dame de Côte d'Ivoire, Madame Brigitte Ouattara. Vous avez mis l'accent sur l'importance que les femmes portent leur voix dans les processus de paix. Et je dois aussi remercier son Excellence, Madame la Première Dame de la République démocratique, Madame Tshisekedi, pour son leadership extraordinaire dans la République. Son Excellence, très excellente, la Première Dame s'excuse de momentanément parce qu'elle a une obligation. Et une fois encore, je vous remercie pour votre présence, chère Excellence. Our Excellency, we are already asking for our constraints after engagement, but they are in the way the supporting of our work wherever they are. Excellent. I would like to recognize the representative of the First Lady of the Gambia, Mrs. Halima Tambali Nora, who is also the Permanent Secretary of the Office of the First Lady of Gambia, who is to be here, but who is with her with us here in spirit. I also want to acknowledge the presence of the spiritual advisor of the President of Nigeria on SDG, and really want to thank the exceptional guests for every achievement providing excellence. I'm also thrilled to acknowledge the presence of Ambassador Tijani Bande, who is the chief of the permanent mission of Nigeria to the UN, but also firstly the President of the General Assembly at the UN, and made an entire continent very, very, very good. Yes. The many people acknowledge as the least progressively coming to me. So I do appreciate your patience. And if I fail to acknowledge anyone, please feel free to let me know, as the team is right there, and they will actually complete the task. And of course, I do appreciate your patience in the collaboration. We will proceed with the next segment of the program, and as we know, UNFPA has been a main chapter from promoting girls and women's health, diversity, participation, and well-being across all sectors. And that's something I would really like about UNFPA is that it's not just about health. It's also about leadership, it's also about economy, it's also about peace building and making sure that women are well wherever they are. So I have the pleasure to introduce our next distinguished guest. He is the Deputy Executive Director of the Program at UNFPA and Assistant Secretary General. He brings to this position many decades of experience in program management, development, advocacy, partnership, and leadership. It is my honor, privilege, pleasure to invite Dr. Jerry Kila from Iraq.
Excellency. Excellency, Ambassador of the Republic of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Permanent Representative to the United Nations. Excellencies, First Ladies, and their representatives. Honorable Ministers, Honorable Ambassadors, Excellency Madam Binete Diop, Special Envoy of the African Union, Madame la Directrice Générale Adjointe UNESCO, Honorable Wives of Governor, dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, young people, my Nigerian family, in Akwanko, in Agadia, Ekau, all protocol duly observed. Good morning. I'm very honored to be here today for one very personal reason. Excellency Binete Diop mentioned that we need to support women. When I ended my function as Minister of International Cooperation of my country and became Assistant Secretary General of the UN, the first two women I received congratulations by letter was Madam Aisha Buhari. Please applaud her. The second one was by Twitter, Madam Binete Diop. And the young lady sitting here, who was one of my young leaders in Dakar at the Youth Forum, today she's a full, well professional in her own capacity, Dr. Bewa. It is my great pleasure to be here today and to join all the First Ladies here to discuss the role of women and girls in advancing peace and security and promoting ethical of peace. In that respect, I bring you the salutation of Dr. Natalia Kanem. You know, it's a very crazy week this week, Ambassador. We all know that. And none of us can be at this in a same place. So she greets all of you. I had the privilege of listening to the powerful advocacy message of Her Excellency Madam Buhari in Malabo during the Head of State Humanitarian Summit. It was just impressive.
A lot has happened in the 22 years since the first landmark resolution on women, peace and security. 103 member states have adopted national action plan. And since 2015, we have the Youth, Peace and Security Agenda. That agenda has shifted the narrative towards an emphasis on the positive and active role that young women and men play in preventing conflict and building sustainable peace. Indeed, the aspiration of the African Union Agenda 2063 to realize a peaceful and secure Africa cannot and will not be achieved without the women, especially the young women and the youth of Africa. Excellencies, I welcome this opportunity to reflect on the commonality and synergy between these important agendas. Both fundamentally rely on the same core principle, sustainable peace. The Women, Peace and Security and the Youth, Peace and Security Agenda are both seeking the same goal: peace, equality, inclusion, and justice. Although they are often invisible, youth and women-led organizations are at the forefront of building and sustaining peace in their communities. They are tirelessly working to prevent conflict, promote dialogue, and foster social cohesion. As a global community, we need to work towards eliminating violence against women and girls, inclusion of women in decision-making processes, and acknowledge their valuable role in peace and security. And truth must be told, Nigeria is such a good example. But yet, women are absent from peace agreements. Les femmes sont rarement au cœur des accords de paix. They are almost absent from decision-making space. Only 0.9, less than 1% of the world parliamentarians are women under 30 years of age. Less than 1%. Women commonly experience misogyny and discriminatory social norms and laws. Patterns of intimidation, harassment, and violence against women who exercise their political rights deter women from entering political and public life. Women activists and women and human rights defenders are regularly targeted and very often face sexual and gender-based violence, all sorts of discrimination and other forms of violence. This shows how age and gender discrimination intersect and multiply the challenges women face. UNFPA, besides you, is committed to supporting young women activism, voices, and most importantly, their agency. And we do this by partnering with and supporting women-led movements, including young feminist organizations, and creating opportunities and safe space for dialogue and collaboration between young women leaders and policymakers. Whether it's the adolescent girl in a war-torn country, desperate to stay in school, the young woman living in a refugee camp who fears daily for her safety, or the human rights activist forced to flee her home, they all have a right to a brighter future. To girls leaders and young women on the front line and around the world, we urge you to be bold in your demands. Young leaders should take their charge, make their contribution into the peace and security response in their communities and countries. The drive to harness demographic dividend across Africa and to secure a peaceful and prosperous continent through investment in the holistic development of young people must have at its heart strategy targeted at addressing the root cause of discrimination and marginalization of young women. Excellencies, as we are honored to have strong women leaders, first ladies, from around Africa joining us today, I also would like to request and urge you all, wives of governors, wives of high-level politicians, yourself as a women leader, urge you all around the world, please provide opportunity to young women in any capacity. Let them be the strong contributors to building the peace we are all looking for. It is time for a true intergenerational partnership. Together, let's commit to amplifying the voice of young people, listening to their demands and supporting their passion, energy, and ideas for a more peaceful, prosperous future for themselves and for all of us. Avec votre appui, les jeunes du continent pourront achever leur plein potentiel. I thank you.
Merci encore, Dr. Dine Keita, pour votre mot. Avec l'appui de tous, les jeunes et les femmes pourront remplir leur plein potentiel. Vous avez aussi mis l'accent particulier sur le leadership du Nigeria, sur les questions de paix et de sécurité. Vous avez servi comme représentant du UNFP au Nigeria, et je sais combien vous aimez ce pays. So we thank you for your leadership and for your commitment for this. So after this very interesting segment, we do have the pleasure of having another high-level interactive session, which will focus on moving from commitments to action in advancing the role and participation of women and girls in peace building. I do have the pleasure to acknowledge and recognize His Excellency Ambassador Bankole Adeoye, Commissioner Peace and Political Affairs at the AU, African Union. He is a career diplomat, a strong advocate for Africa's regional integration, as well as Africa Inclusive Partnership, good governance and security. I would like to check His Excellency Ambassador Bankole Adeoye, Commissioner Peace and Political Affairs at the AU, if he is with us today. All right. While we are checking and making sure that we can have Ambassador remark and contribution, I would also like to acknowledge UNESCO, a key partner, and it has been reinforced here. The representative of Her Excellency, Madame Audrey Azoulay, Director General of UNESCO, who will be represented today by Mrs. Stefania Giannini, Under Director General for Education, from specifically for the education sector. J'ai le plaisir d'inviter Madame Stefania Giannini, sous-directrice régionale pour l'éducation, secteur de l'éducation de l'UNESCO, pour son mot de début. Merci de l'accueillir.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, it's a great honor, a great pleasure. Almost at the end of this very intensive UNGA this year, very much focused in education. Finally, we're very happy with that. On behalf of the Director General Audrey Azoulay of UNESCO, to be here to participate in this high-level event, focusing on such important and timely topic, the role of women and girls in advancing peace and security. And I wish to, first of all, warmly extend my congratulations to the organizer of this event, of course, namely the African First Lady Peace Mission and United Nations Population Fund. UNESCO, as you maybe know, has been designated by the UN General Assembly as lead agency for the implementation of all resolutions related to the culture of peace. And the concept of cultural peace is not a new one, actually. It was born in Africa. It was born in UNESCO during the Congress on Peace in the Mind of Men in Yamoussoukro, Côte d'Ivoire, in 1989, in the presence of several personalities from all over the world. UNESCO Cultural Peace and Non-Violence efforts continue, of course, from that time to implement, to contribute to the 2030 agenda, particularly SDG 16 on peace, justice, and strong institutions, and the aspirations of the African Union Agenda 2063 in line with the G7 and Sahel strategy for development and security, but of course, through many other SDGs, and I will come back later on that. But I think what we can ask here in this room, what is culture of peace is about? To put it simply, in its simplest form, I would say, living together in peace is all about accepting differences, diversity, and having the ability to listen to recognize, to respect, and appreciate others, as well as living in a peaceful and united way. Simply to say, more complex, put in practice, we know, but still possible, especially through leveraging three main dimensions: the cultural dimension, the educational dimension, as already very well put in many previous outstanding speeches, and of course, the women leadership. And let me briefly elaborate on the three of them. Well, this is more than just the absence of war. There is a notion of positive peace, which is very much the ground of many initiatives we are doing within the UN. It's very much living together with our diversity, language diversity, religion, culture, sense of belonging to specific community, and so on, while furthering universal respect for justice and human rights on which such kind of coexistence depends. However, we all know, especially now, especially this year, I would say, peace should never be taken for granted. I belong to a generation of Europeans who thought we never saw in that part of the world, in that continent, the war happening still. Now, we know that it's not the case. So peace, it's an ongoing process. It's a long-term goal that requires constant engineering, vigilance, and active participation by all individuals. And when it comes to individuals, women's role is critical. It's critical because women, we all can be mothers, caregivers, teachers mostly, and you, many of you as first ladies are more than this, mothers of nations, mothers of the African continent, which is a continent that's so rich in diversity and culture. So the first point, the first piece, the first cent I wish to give to contribute to this important dialogue is about culture. Culture is an important, fundamental component of a people-centered approach in response to promoting peace. Cultural heritage is not only important per se, but as an integral part of the identity of a community, of a nation, of peoples, is also the most relevant tool to transmit knowledge, values, and a sense of belonging. And this brings me to the second, and UNESCO is the guardian, so to say, of the cultural heritage, tangible as well as intangible of the world. But this brings me to the second fundamental pillar of the culture of peace, education. Education as a human right, education as a common public good, as a driver for development and cohesion of peoples. That's why it's so urgent, so dramatically mandatory to invest the highest political and economical capital ever in education. And this is the simple message that the Secretary General just transmitted to the leaders of the world on Monday from the GAO. And that's the simple message from the Transforming Education Summit convened this year, which I had the privilege and honor under DSG Amina Mohammed leadership to lead in the Secretariat. And I wish also to acknowledge the presence of His Excellency, the permanent delegate of Nigeria and former PGA, and see how we contributed to this piece of the process under his leadership last year. Well, it's widely known that in times of war, crisis, and conflict, women and children are the primary victims. But we talk less, too much less, about the role of women and children as the natural peacemakers in times of stress and violence, as we see in many regions of the world, unfortunately. It's only when women themselves are at the front line of peace and security action, very often renewed dialogue among the communities, of course, when they can take the head of it. And it's not simply to be around the table, but it's very much to be where decisions are taken. And allow me to give you some examples of women in Africa directly involved in peacemaking and peace building, Igbo in Nigeria, Luo women in Kenya, Gidar or Cameroon, and I should continue. All these communities are women-driven when it comes to dialogue, peacemaking, and mutual understanding. And of course, the precondition for these women to be there with that role is to have girls back to school and to give girls the opportunity to have their pathway and journey through education all life long. And moving forward, I'm also pleased to know that the many women networks in Africa being agents of peaceful change and inclusive development, exemplified by the great activism of African First Ladies Peace Mission, the Network of African Women in Conflict Prevention and Mediation, FEMWISE, among others. Leveraging our reach network of partners, we needed to support women and girls communities and societies to actively participate in building of peace and intercultural dialogue, as well as in building their capacities. And we had the groundwork has been laid for us by the governing principles that all know of the UN Security Council resolutions 1325 and the 2242 on women, peace and security, and the various AU continental frameworks. But the responsibility lies now within each of us sitting here today, and many others who are not in this discussion involved, to act and mobilize as much as possible others to join forces on the enhancement of women's inclusion in peacemaking Africa. It's my hope, it's my real belief that we can see all activist structures on the ground, UNESCO being very much supporting all of that through this magic combination of the three dimensions I started to briefly present to you today: culture, education, and women's leadership. I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Giannini. Culture, education, and women's leadership, key pillar for peacemaking, key pillar for peace building. We appreciate UNESCO support et contribution. Nous voudrais aussi reconnaître la présence de l'Organisation du monde islamique pour l'éducation, la science et la culture des peuples, qui soutient et qui est présent au cours de ces événements. We have a few more minutes to close the session, and I want to appreciate all of you for staying and participating. I appreciate also the media for the contribution, but you have made it all. You've made my work easy by staying, and I want to appreciate all of you. Now, we would like to move to the declaration, which is going to be a very short declaration to be read. So I would really appreciate if the key take-home messages can be shared.
And after that, we will have the closing remarks. So I would like to invite, it's my pleasure and honor to invite again back on stage, our champion, our leader, and Mrs. Nadezha.
This call to action was launched during the high-level event on the emergence of the 77th UN General Assembly teams, the role of young women and girls in advancing peace and security, promoting a culture of peace in fragile settings. Organized on September 22, 2022 in New York by the Africa First Lady Peace Mission, in collaboration with the United Nations Fund for Population Activities, UNFPA, under the presidency of Her Excellency Mrs. Aisha Muhammadu Buhari, the First Lady of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and current president of AFNPM. Africa First Ladies Peace Mission calls to action our head of state and government, recognizing the individual and collective imperative of addressing all forms of gender-based violence through prioritize inclusive decision-making mechanisms that allow young women and girls to contribute to the peace and resilience of their communities. Strengthen regional cooperation that shall ensure collective action for promoting the role of women and girls in contributing to peace in the Sahel and environs. Prioritize the development, resourcing, and implementation of national action plans that facilitate the role of women and girls for peace, including national action plans on Resolution 1325 and national frameworks on Resolution 2250 on youth, peace, and security. Institute accountability frameworks for all governments, instruments to be held responsible for the full implementation of national and regional plans, strategies, and programs established with the meaningful contribution of women and girls at conception. Ensure the availability of quality, accessible, affordable, resilient, preventive, and response services of all forms of gender-based violence. Mobilize and earmark internal resources to support national and regional efforts towards gender mainstreaming and women's empowerment at all levels in all sectors. Enact laws and establish legal frameworks to eradicate female genital mutilation, child marriage, all forms of gender-based violence and harmful practices, and increase access to the full range of human, social, and economic rights of women in Africa. Strengthen universal health coverage systems by prioritizing the most vulnerable women and girls, and by underwriting the costs relating to gender-based violence acts in a holistic fashion. We commit to using the platform of our office. The Africa First Ladies Peace Mission actually commits to using the platform of their office to support its efforts for the development of women and girls in our region and their meaningful inclusion in decision-making related to peace and security. Finally, the Africa First Ladies Peace Mission reiterates their pledge to promote the safety, protection, and increased access to services and meaningful participation for the women and girls of Africa. They further call upon the young women and girls of the Sahel to rise up and to demand for their rightful position as champions and agents of social change. They can be assured of their support. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this really important statement and reading the declaration, which is also a significant call to action. And just really editing very quickly, UNFPA as the United Nations Fund for Population. They are critical for their support. And also grateful for everyone's support in this room. This is not the end of the conversation, but this is, as I always say, it is the beginning of a systematic and continuous discussion around how we can make sure that young girls and women role in peacemaking and peace building remains a critical priority. We have heard from our distinguished guests, VIPs, excellent first ladies, leaders of institutions, bilateral, ministerial, administrative level, but also from government representatives. And I have the pleasure now to invite for the closing remark, Ambassador Dr. Aisha Sani, Ambassador of the Permanent Delegation of Nigeria to the UNESCO. She is an educationist, a gender and leadership advocate, and a policy expert with many years of experience in teaching. Welcome, Her Excellency Ambassador Dr. Aisha.
Thank you very much. Let me start by acknowledging all the facilities that were here, even though they have left, but I know the representatives are here. To extend appreciation on behalf of Her Excellency. Am I finished? On behalf of Her Excellency, Dr. Mrs. Aisha Muhammad Buhari, First Lady of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President of the African First Lady Peace Mission, founder of Peaceful Assured Program and Aisha Buhari Foundation. It is a pleasure for me and in fact wonderful to be part of this very memorable and beautiful conversation and deliberation we had on the role of women and advancing peace and security and promoting the culture of peace in our society. As William Rose Wallace once said, the hand that rocks the cradle can rule the world, and these are women. Women from time immemorial have not ceased to fulfill their roles in promoting peace and security, both at home and public fronts. The area of contribution from our eminent speakers today, a special recognition to Her Excellency Dio, who had just left, Benita Dio, a special assistant and convoy of women in African Union. And my dear friend, of course, here, who has been with me, and I still recall our golden days in Nigeria, Diana Kaita. And I still recall the support we enjoyed under UNDP when she was in Nigeria, and what I'm sure the First Lady of Nigeria is still very proud of. So we had a lot and many conversations and contribution to the kind of roles women can play, not only at home, but in the public front in promoting peace. My Assistant Director General, who had just left, Ms. Stefania Ginani, who represented the Director General of UNESCO, Ms. Andrea Zule. Unfortunately, she cannot come. This is one person that I believe. She also believes in the ideals and the vision of Her Excellency, Mrs. Aisha Buhari, especially when she came to Nigeria in September last year and was able to visit Her Excellency and made commitment towards anything we can do in UNESCO, in the area of peace, in the area of culture, in the area of education. And I'm very happy Mrs. Stefania was able to explain and also be able to go through the role UNESCO plays in terms of promoting peace, which has been the primary mandate of UNESCO, and the importance of education and culture, which we know when it is well promoted and enhanced in such a way that human beings, and especially the younger generation, can benefit and utilize at the same time. I think there will be peace everywhere. That is why I'm also particularly happy to witness the development of the African First Lady Peace Mission. Maybe that is why I've been asked to give the closing remarks. I'm very much delighted for the initiative of Her Excellency, the First Lady of Nigeria and the President of the African First Lady Peace Mission, and her commitment to peace and security all over the world. As we are all aware, the objective of African First Lady Peace Mission, which which Her Excellency champions, is to rally and unite the African First Ladies. And I'm sure many of them would have loved to be here, but due to certain circumstances, especially regarding our First Lady, which has been beyond her control to be here, but we are able to happy to witness and listen to her speech regarding this project. Yeah, I'm particularly delighted to stand before you and to give these closing remarks, having been part of the project and also believing in the vision and the ideals of Her Excellency of leaving a legacy for the African First Ladies. The construction of the state-of-the-art secretariat for the First Ladies and to be in Nigeria, I think is one great achievement of Her Excellency. I will not conclude without thanking everybody. I think my closing remarks should be part of also vote of thanks for being here. I cannot also ignore the fact that the contribution and hard work of the team of the Office of the First Lady, as well as the Office of the African First Lady Peace Mission in Nigeria, all the staff, senior staff in the Office of the First Lady are all here. I think it might be nice if I can also recognize some of them that are here. Dr. Ruqayyat Green, who is the Senior Special Assistant to the President of Women and Administration, heading the Office of the First Lady, my successor. Her Excellency Ms. Mero Al-Makura, she's the Special Assistant on the African First Lady Peace Mission, Office of the First Lady. My other younger sister, Barrister Aisha Rimi, who has been coordinating all the work, is in charge of legal in the Office of the First Lady. We have the personal medical physician for the First Lady, Dr. Ogala is there. And I decided to leave her to be the last. Dr. Ole Wada, who is Executive Secretary of the new African First Lady Peace Mission under Her Excellency Mrs. Buhari, who is the president. Just to tell you that I know everybody here. The wives of the service chiefs are here, wife of the staff, now the staff, the wife of the director of security services, she's here, and my very good sister friend we've been working many years together, Princess Adejoki Adefleri, who has been moving the SDG in Nigeria to greater heights. And I hope all of us will be in her event tomorrow. I would say that I'm really, should be the happiest person here. To be here, to give the closing remark of this event, and also to say that UNESCO is well represented, not only with my presence, but the presence of the Director General. Yes, I think I meet so many people. Please forgive me. Can we have, yes? Oh, yes. Sorry. My sister that had been working with them for over 7 years in supporting the work of the First Lady. I didn't see my sister when you came in. Her Excellency Getty of Edo, and my sister from Plateau State. So please forgive me. My eyes were going around here and there. And very important personalities that have come to be part of this event. We also appreciate the permanent representative of Nigeria to United Nations, His Excellency Professor Bande, whose tenure and as the President of the General Assembly has brought Nigeria very high in the global scene. And his wife is here. We have some of our relatives. We have Mohammed, we have Honorable Sani Zoro. Yes, key personality in the office of the First Lady. We have Mr. Nayo, Chief Protocol Officer, and everybody that the police telling me to be quiet. You don't know if you are in a terrain that you are so familiar with. You get excited. So maybe that is why I'm doing this. On a serious note, Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, friends, well-wishers, we really thank you for being here on behalf of Her Excellency, Dr. Mrs. Aisha Muhammad Buhari, and we hope to see you once again, and thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Excellencies, for your significant contribution and participation. We have discussed issues regarding young women's and girls' participation in peace and security, promoting a culture of peace and fragility. It was my pleasure to moderate this event. I'm Dr. Joanne Bewa, and I wish you an excellent day. Thank you. I'm happy to announce that there's some lunch and refreshment on the right side, so feel free to grab some. Thank you.
Because
No problems with the sound today? No, not really. That's good. It was them, not me. Yesterday. Oh, yeah, yesterday. But I sorted it all. I never really had time to set up. Oh, right.
Thank you.